So,
Oh, hello, everybody, and welcome to our Investor Insights with Brian Cohen of New York Venture Partners. I'm Bonnie Halper. I write the weekly Startup One Stop newsletter, which is the first read of the tech press and investors and founders globally. I'll put the link in the chat. And I want to thank Jill. And I also work with founders on their pitch decks and their executive summaries and make introductions to strategic partners and investors where and when appropriate, because you guys don't know how to write out your pitch decks properly. I want to thank Joseph for hosting us. Joseph, tell us about what you do.
Thank you, Bonnie. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here. Looking forward to today's conversation. Joseph Katz. I am a startup marketing guy. I help companies go from unknown to well-known using strategic marketing and getting their name out there, and love working with startups and solving difficult problems. So welcome, everyone. Feel free to put your contact information in the chat. Introductions are usually short, and I think today we're going to do slightly differently with Brian taking the reins.
Yes, I'm going to let Brian take over. I'm speaker impaired today, and I might have to lean into here, and so I might shut off my video so I don't scare people, because a super large face of me could be scary. So take it away, Brian, and thank you.
well, you're very kind, but I just want to add something. Bonnie is special in many ways, and two ways that I just want to highlight. One, she's an amazing writer. So,
Oh, thank you.
to me, words matter, and every word she says in her SOS newsletter matters. She is I guess, kind of like a Bill Maher in a way. I think about that. Her honesty and her transparency is incredibly refreshing in a world of fear, where people are afraid to tell people what they think. So, Bonnie, my hat off to you for
Thank you.
your your work, and I just hope everybody reads what you write, because I learned something from reading your emails, and I kind of put, every time I get one, I put it into a little box on my computer to know that I'm going to have to sit and read it slowly. So I'm blown away. Plus, the other part is there's a commitment that Bonnie has made to you, to me, to others in the fondly described New York City startup community. That's pretty much unparalleled. And I've known everyone since the 70s who were originally doing what we're doing in the tech community. People think the tech community started in New York in the year 2000. I happen to have been fortunate to have started the first computer publications in the world when I was in grad school, getting my master's in science journalism. I started PC Magazine. I started InformationWeek magazine. I was the publisher. I was 25 years old, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But I loved interviewing people, and I love writing stories, and that turns into a publication. Well, what used to be publishing. Now it's not clear what publishing is anymore. And I'm not melancholy. I'm absolutely clear about change. But how do you adapt to the change is always a bigger problem. How do you do that? From there, I built the first science and technology McKinsey-type company to support marketing communications for tech companies. Built it to be the world's largest as well. I sold it in a bidding war with Omnicom and Interpublic and WPP. I became vice chairman of McCann Erickson after the acquisition in 1997. Our clients were just about every company you'd imagine in a who of the technology world. We're known particularly because I invented the Deep Blue competition between Gary Kasparov and Deep Blue, and his mother, I should say, because his mother was actually playing. So I've had a great life in my business life, but then I retired at 40, made all the money in the world that I can imagine ever making, and my wife and I, who was my partner, retired, and I became what people referred to as angel investors back then, which have continued to become angel investors. I called it today's stupid investing because nobody makes money in it. It's almost impossible to make money at it. It's done poorly, it's done amateurishly, and unfortunately it hurts founders the way it's done. And it hurts VCs in many cases as well, because there just isn't enough intelligence and thought behind a lot of the approaches to funding a company at the earliest stages when it's most profoundly important. I was the chairman of the New York Angels for 12 years, largest seed investors in New York, funded hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of companies. over $150 million in seed financing. And I retired from that about 5 years ago. And now, as I was saying, my book of my life is about giving you, Annie Wang, as much input as I can, so that you gain some wisdom, not just information. You can pick that up in books. But I'm trying my incredibly hardest to answer any question I can with something that you've not heard before, something that gets to the bone, something that can really make a difference in the way you think, and the way you move forward with your businesses or even your life. I just, my fourth grandchild was born. I have every reason to believe that the next part of my life is really much more focused on my family and my kids and my grandkids, and it's a beautiful thing, a really beautiful thing. But my heart is still in the startup world, and New York City is an incredible continuing part of it. So I'm not sure how many of you are in New York. Just raise your hands if you're in the New York area. Okay, so we have a lot of people who aren't. So I know that Daniel, I got your background. You're out of Israel, which of course is near and dear to my heart. And, I feel for you and the challenges that your colleagues, friends, are dealing with there. Craig, where are you? Are you on, Craig? No, you're back, Craig?
I am, Brian. Thanks. And wonderful to hear about your background. Congratulations. That's incredible. And it's wonderful, like you and Bonnie, that you like to give back, right? Because that's where the real value is. So thank you for taking the time. I'm actually in Los Angeles, taking a few minutes here before I have to get my day started and trying to keep one eye on the horrendous acts that everyone did at UCLA last night out here, which is, again, we won't get sideswiped, but you just can't wrap your arms around Royce Hall and what people are willing to do. It's just, you just can't.
I actually wondered yesterday. You ever wonder a question, but you haven't actually looked for the answer? I wonder, does the human condition enjoy and want chaos? If you actually Google that, the answer comes back, yeah. We all like chaos. It says chaos brings excitement to our lives. And in some cases, it brings control. So, chaos is just a normal part of living. My children are always asking me, we're living in very bad times. And I said, I'm sorry, but you didn't live through World War II, where millions of people were killed. And World War I, which even more millions and millions of people were killed. So if, the reference point is silliness that's going on with people with weird agendas you think is chaotic, it doesn't come close to some of the challenges that we faced during Vietnam and so.
And you know what, Brian, and again, not to get Philip, because I don't even want to get distracted. I think the challenges for those that have not been impacted by history, when you bring up, right, the other side of the equation here, which again, I won't get too deep into, but it's very sad to me, right, that there is such a disconnect and that there is no longer empathy for a long history here of the challenges that families have faced, and the impact that's had on generations. It's scary that it's become a video game. Watching the kids, it's just a big video game.
I'm really appreciative that you're saying all of this. And I know that this isn't part of the agenda that Bonnie, maybe even noted, but she knows me. And it's always good to start with something that touches your heart first in a conversation. We're only meeting for the first time, some of us. And so who are we? What are we made of? And I think taking stock of what's happening around us and just all of us noting it puts us all on the same page and allows us to sort of move forward on other conversations because, we started with something that's heartfelt. So thank you. Thank you.
I'm a Columbia alum, and it really sickens me when I see what's going on campus. That's all I wanted to say.
Words haven't been invented yet for me. The English language is very bad. We keep using the same words. I told my daughter at 11 years old that I no longer love her when she was 11. And she said, what do you mean, Daddy? How could you not love me anymore? I said, well, you love ice cream. And you love me? You love ice cream as much as you love your daddy? And she said, I guess. I said, we're going to make up a new word. You smug me. I came from smush face, and I smushed my face into my daughter's face when she was 11. I said, from now on, you don't love your daddy anymore. You smug me. So, the English language needs to have new words that actually are better at describing the silly things or the good things that happen. We need to be more inventive. Again, that leads to a better understanding of ourselves I didn't, my son taught me the word snocks as a snarky way of talking about the stock market this morning. Snocks, I guess he called it, which is I don't know, a bizarre way of describing a weird way of the stock market. So anyway, and just tell me quickly, Greg, what do you do?
I just joined Chase within business banking out here in Los Angeles. So I cover basically the market from basically WeHo through into Westwood. And they've launched a real focus on acquisition out here. And so I'm working to develop businesses basically up to $20 million on deposit treasury, small business lending. My primary focus and background is in specialty banking. So in some ways, I'm bridging between specialization that I've had in entertainment and in AI and other businesses back into traditional businesses within West LA.
For the sake of this conversation, for all of us on this call and for the nature of where we live, it's in the startup world. So anything you could add to the conversation that relates to banking for startups, that's really where our focus is. So anything at all, but not now. Let me just go through. And Annie, where are you?
I'm here. Morning.
Good to be here. Where is you?
I'm based out of New York City right now, and yeah, and I am in the influencer marketing realm. So, willing to chat to discuss of the social commerce if there's anybody interested in. Yeah, nice to meet you all.
Is there any other way to sell other than social commerce?
Excuse me?
Is there any better way to sell anything other than through social commerce?
I mean, there are a lot, but social is kind of way to introduce and engage with from Gen Z to Gen Alpha, to be honest.
It's all about influence. I'm constantly influenced all the time, and I don't even know it.
That's wild.
I love the subtle influences, the things you don't even know that you're doing, that somehow somebody figured out how to get you to do, right?
Totally.
And where are you? Yifan Yang? Yep, talking to you.
Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I am based in New York too, in Long Island. Used to live in Manhattan, but I moved to Long Island a few years ago when I have kids.
Where are you?
I'm a former consultant with Bain and a former entrepreneur myself. I pivoted into venture capital starting in January this year. I'm a venture partner working with a emerging firm called VU Venture Partners. I just finished up my first 3 deals, but still learning in this area. So want to stay connected with the founders and with investors and learn what's going on in the space.
So this is a podium that I use to share my thinking. I don't call startups deals. I think it's rude. Right? Do you like being called a deal? No one likes being called a deal. You're a good deal. That just makes it so transactional. I call them investment opportunities. So you've made, three investments and 3 investment opportunities, because you're really making an investment. You're not making an investment in a deal. That's just a piece of paper, the term sheet, the information, right? So where are you on Long Island quickly?
Roslyn.
Got it. And I spent 30 years out there, and I live in Bridgehampton. I live out in the Hamptons, which is really.
How do you like it?
Beautiful place.
Yep.
I really away from the maddening crowds, if you will, right? And Sally, where are you? And what are you up to?
Hi, it's nice to meet you. I'm in education. I've been in 28 years. Can you hear me?
I hear you perfectly, and
Okay.
What better place to be than in education, right?
Yeah, I'm sitting here in a high school. Yeah, I do have a startup. I'm trying to bridge the gap between universities, what they're producing, and what corporate America is getting. So we know that's been broken for about 35 years. So I am a college and career advisor, and I also teach a class where students work with.
I am not worthy. When I think about the high schools and college advisors, you average 400 students in the high school that I'm familiar with. And it's an impossible task they give you, and yet the most incredibly responsible task. And my hat goes off to you. It's really hard to do.
Well, I'm trying to I work with students. I give them real business projects to work on in this town where I work, and so I'm trying to take that to the university level. And I've created a corporate project portal so companies can load projects across all 165 industries, and then students or instructors just grab projects and embed them into every single degree program.
Yeah, so I started Build in New York, which helps high school students become entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial. I don't want them not to go to college. It's always been an issue. You get kids interested in startups too soon, even in college, and they drop out. And then they realize the chances of their success are about 1%. And then they wait, what did I do that for, right? So that's a really wonderful thing to do. Nice to have you. Ian, what are you up to?
First, hi, good morning. I'm in Toronto. I also am in education. I work for a company in LA called Virtual Film School. So we provide I would say high-end live online instruction and content creation. And we're currently partnering with universities around the world and soon in the US.
Very tough business. I've invested in so many education companies. And not to dissuade you, but it takes a lot of grit.
No doubt about it.
Right, a lot of grit. Dr. Daniel Sanders, I know you said you're doing some nutraceutical work with some mouth, I guess. It gets around the problem of the digestive system. And what is your product supposed to do? What is your nutraceutical supposed to do?
Well, we've got an interesting formulation that actually allows us to generate with food grade materials self-heating, which dramatically increases diffusion of whatever it is that we want to push through the oral tissue. And so it's really
it's a carrier molecule.
Sorry.
Is it a
sorry?
Did you say it sounds like it's a carrier molecule? So what is it? What is the end result of taking it? Why does somebody take it?
Well, first two products, we're putting them into the carrier, which is a chewing gum. And first one is to control periodontal disease, gum disease. Second one is actually to help people prevent, cognitive impairment. So it's really to look for this. There's a lot of pathogens in the mouth. Turns out that they translocate and they can get through the blood-brain barrier. So the idea is to go at the source, not downstream, but upstream at the source of what it is called driving the pathology.
Yeah, that's very true. A lot of people don't realize that if you don't take care of proper, mouth hygiene, it actually affects your heart. And there's a lot of serious, issues about that.
Right.
It was on the island of Crete, and I discovered a toothpaste with a particular gum resin in it called mastic. It's only made, on a small island of Eos. And this mastic, you should look it up, is only in one toothpaste, and it wonderfully kills bacteria. But then I found out there's actually good bacteria in your mouth.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I don't know. Something that kills bacteria can completely differentiate between the good and the bad. But that's a deeper
to that, if I could jump into that, we have activations that are selectively antimicrobial that are not going to, there's about you're exactly right, Brian, there's about 700 what are called commensal or healthy bacteria in your mouth. And pretty much all the products that are out there today are, it's like a howitzer, they just kill everything. And they
wisely,
cause dysbiosis.
When I think everything needs to move on. I'm very familiar with the area. Just send me something on it. I'm curious. Okay.
Sure. Absolutely. I'll just do you have an email on you, or how do I get things?
You gotta find it. I don't give my email out. If somebody can find me, they're not worth talking to. Joseph Thibault.
Thibault. You nailed it first time. That's rare. Calling in from Baltimore, former colleague of Joseph Katz. Nice to see you again, Joseph. And working in education space, also focused on academic integrity, tying student writing to the actual student through biometrics. So relevant for AI classification, basically is like I'm in the business of human verification, I would say.
So friends of mine's children, one of them was just diagnosed as being dyslexic, and his writing cursive was incomprehensible. And they got angry at the kid. He wasn't properly recognized as being dyslexic, but kid's a genius. but he was always told he was disabled. Of course, in many cases, being dyslexic is actually a superpower. When you look at who was dyslexic in the world, it's just a learning difference. That's all. So the word cursive, because some of us learned it in college to write in a cursive manner. I don't think anybody even knows what the word means, today. It's one of those foreign old words, cursive. Joe, remember learning to write cursive? Right?
Yeah.
We had to write in a cursive manner. I don't think anybody, I can't remember last time I picked up a pen, to write something. So I use voice input all the time.
This is all by keyboard.
Got it. But the word cursive is in there, which is a hand oriented.
Yeah. Since it was out of vogue, looked like a good potential SEO play to get top ranking.
Oh, SEO. Okay. So Yifan, why are all those books back there? Did you read all those books? Or is that a back?
Yeah, it's a photo of my previous home office.
Wow.
I did read a big chunk of those books over, a course of like 5 to 6 years, especially during COVID. I read a lot during that time.
Well, that's very, very impressive. Growing up, in New York, the only thing I ever got as a gift from my family was a book. We were allowed no toys. The only thing we got as gifts was the gift of knowledge. So I do that to my kids as well, and they hate me for it, of course. No, they don't. The gift of knowledge. Beverly, you're laughing. You got a beautiful smile. Sorry, I'm not being too forward, but you do. What are you up to in your car?
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm a founder of a digital health platform called HerScripts. We treat chronic health conditions like hair loss and alopecia in women of color. I have 10 years of pharmaceutical sales and marketing experience in dermatology and mental health. So I'm on my way, since I'm still working because I'm bootstrapping, my way to our beta launch with 650 users on Monday. So that's why I'm in the car, because I have some providers to call on.
It's so interesting. You described your journey as you're bootstrapping. I'm still working. So when you raise money, you're not going to work anymore? I'm just making.
That's a great question.
I'm just making fun of the way I can't help it. I'm just making fun of the way you said that, right? So the nature. So I judged the finals of the NYU business competition, and my 3 compatriots on the judging panel were all women of color, and 4 of the companies were also of color, and it just seems so ordinarily natural in New York now that everything, and it was balanced, and it was all women of color. They were embarrassed because there's a wig company out of Atlanta that flew up, went to NYU, and they were rent a runway. It was rent a wig, and I had known all about how to put wigs on, and lace and so on. So there's a particular need, and it's not even a niche among women of color to manage hair loss. I had not heard anybody come up with a product like that. Is it backed by some science?
So here's the thing. So we're a platform, right? So essentially we're using an asynchronous telehealth model where, on the front end, it looks like an e-commerce store where you can subscribe to the prescription. It's a prescription that they're getting their hands on, but on the back end, there's an entire EMR system. There are physicians that are doing consultations on the back end without having to one-on-one speak to the
get the medication in your hands quickly.
Yes, like Hims and Hers, Teladoc, Amwell, etc.
Right. So I met a Teladoc startup in the dermatology business, everybody. And that's one of the businesses. You can take a picture of whatever the dermatological issue is. And what business are you really in? And they said, what do you mean? We're both doctors. We're all dermatologists. And I said, yeah, but that's what you do. That's who you are. What business are you in? And after 5 minutes, they realized they were in the business of getting medications to the people who need it quicker.
Yes.
And
that's it.
That changed the whole rule book. So everyone on this call, which I learned from a wonderful consultant by the name of Peter Drucker, some of you may know who that is. I should say the great Peter Drucker. He was my counsel as a young man. And he always asked basic, simple questions. And I never, ever forgot, always ask basic, simple questions because they're the hardest to answer. And he would always ask, what business are you in? And so I've done that annoyingly for, about 50 years that I've been doing this. And it starts off as a really annoying question to people who think, well, that's a basic question. Why am I even talking to you? And then after I annoy them a little bit more for 3 minutes and they realize they can't answer it, they go, oh my God, that is the singular question. Once you know what business you're in, it makes everything so much easier, right? And you have to acknowledge what business you're in. So even in the influencer business, all right, I mean, that's the business you're playing in. What business are you in the influencer business? And I always bring up the story, Patrick, that I see you just got online, baby, that the chairman of Black & Decker Tools gave a presentation to a new ad agency. And at the end of the presentation, the ad agency executive looked at the president of Black & Decker and asked him what business you were in. And he got really upset. He said, I just gave you a presentation. You could tell what business I'm in. I'm in the drill business. And the ad executive said, no. I thought you were in the whole business. And so that was also a very profound way of recognizing that the way you see yourself is so important, right? Do you agree with that, Joe Milan? Did I catch you with something in your mouth? What are you eating? Unless you're having a cigar this early in the morning?
You're like a professor. You call on me. What was your question again? I apologize. I was doing other work.
Oh.
Professor Brian. What was the question again?
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, tell me, what do you do? What do you do, Chuck?
What do I do? Yeah, Brian, we built a platform. I came from the public markets, managing money as a securities analyst and portfolio manager, and got exposure to the venture asset class early on in the early 90s. The firm I was at and ended up taking over was at 3000 Sand Hill. And I just was in the right place, the right time to apply and witness the angel funding process, which you touched on earlier. The Band of Angels was founded in my office. Hans Severns was my subtenant.
Hans Severns, I knew Hans Severns. We give an award every year.
I know.
Severns Award.
I know. Yeah, he was dating one of my clients. And he saw how we ran her money so well, and saw I had an empty office there, and that's how it evolved in the early 90s.
The Band of Angels, which I knew and know many of the people who were there, never made any money in their first year because they were so opportunistic about giving themselves rather than making money. Then they realized, oh my God, we got to figure out how to make money at this, right? So I've been out to their presentations over the years. But that's pretty cool. I forgive me, everybody, but I kind of love talking a bit of the melancholy of the history of this world because there's so much to learn from it, right? What is that line? Those people who are not aware of history are doomed to repeat it, right? So everything old is new again. We learn and then we unlearn and then we learn again. Even my children thought during the last long, wonderful, free money time. What are they called? ZIRP years, zero interest, free money, right? They thought it was going to continue forever. It's good to have a memory of the way things were before. Really, really good. So who am I missing here? Tino, you're in your car as well. Hi. Hey. Where are you? I'll get to you.
I'm currently in Cleveland. So I'm the CEO and founder of a company where it's a gig platform for underused manufacturing automation, and we drive the utilization by selling products that we can make on it. So we're effectively deglobalizing manufacturing to remove all this shipping and warehousing that consumes 40% of industry revenues. Sales this month are around 100.
When you say you're currently when somebody answers a question, I'm currently in Cleveland, it doesn't sound like they want to be there. I'm currently in Cleveland. I love ripping off of everybody. And if you notice, that's what I enjoy doing the most because every one of you is important. But, I like riffing. So you're in Cleveland. Okay. And you're deglobalizing. What is that even? Those are big words, right? I'm not into big words. I don't understand that. Anything I don't understand, I have to ask, what does that mean? What do you deglobalize?
Yeah, we reduce long distance supply chains into hyper local supply chains to remove all the shipping and warehousing that consumes 40% of industry revenues.
But things still need to be shipped.
I'm sorry?
Things.
No, they don't.
They're analog.
No, they don't. No, they don't. If you can send the machine code to the local machine, it's a FedEx print shop model. It's a Kinko's print shop model. Except for
On demand. Got it.
on demand.
But you can't print everything on demand. Right?
No, but you can certainly print all of the products that we're selling.
So give everybody.
Oh, it's not printing. It's CNC.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just using that as a common way of describing it. So what's the best example of doing what you do so we could all completely get it and understand it? Here's your best example.
The best example is we sold a $70,000 luxury kitchen cabinet remodel for our at less than half price, and we still are earning 30% margin.
That doesn't sound like a good example to me of what you're talking about.
Okay.
Kitchen remodeling? Okay.
No, we're selling kitchen cabinets and we're selling cabinetry and closet systems.
Got it. Okay. So I'll get back to that in a minute because I have some thoughts on that. Craig, I haven't seen you yet, but I guess we're all getting only to see a picture of you. Craig, oh, you're on mute. So I don't know if you hear me or not. Let's go to Zarin. Hi, Zarin.
Hello, hi.
What are you up to, Zarin?
So I'm based in Switzerland and I have a banking background. So I'm focused on strategic partnerships and business development for mainly financial sector and e-commerce. So in one of the projects that I do, we work on the multi-touch attribution and monetization of media through retail.
Whoa, big time. So first of all, I'd love to be where you are now. I just got back from Venice. I spent almost 10 days in Venice. Nobody does. Venice is just a city, which is really a museum. It's not anything other than that. Nobody lives there anymore. Everybody just Airbnbs there.
Tourism and travel is good.
Yes.
Wine.
But Bonnie, you get people from Switzerland. Interesting. What is it that you when you read what Bonnie wrote, and maybe you're one of Bonnie's groupies because you can always learn something. What is it that you wanted to learn? Because you're not a startup founder. You're not a financial investor in startups. What did you want to learn from this conversation? And it sounds like you said you're into media.
Yes, so basically, as you said, I follow Bonnie's newsletter, and I also participate in a number of these networking events, including Joe's and a few others. So I learn a lot, on financial investing, venture investing, and also meet different people with.
Do you know everything now? Is there anything that you don't know that you need to know?
Oh, I think it's a lifelong learning. Learning never stops. Every office hour, every call, we learn something. Or meet someone who is interesting and says something.
I'm going to make sure to ask each of you, Andrea and Patrick, and Tony G and Jack Lakin, what you're most curious about that you don't know about. Something that you just never really thought about really scratching the surface of to learn about. At least within the world that I live in. I can tell you how to cook because I love cooking. Talk to you about travel because I love traveling, but we're here to talk about venture investing, angel investing, being a founder, and so on. So I'm really curious what everybody here wants to learn that you already don't know. I can tell you things that'll blow your mind about a different perspective on financing companies and what's wrong with it, but not just what's wrong, but how to fix it. But I'd rather start out by asking you, Sally, and others to ask questions that are really good questions. Because you remember, I'm sure you were all taught by your college professors, it's not the answers that you want, it's the questions.
Yeah.
It's good questions. So who has a good question that really they always wanted to ask to find out about? Let's start there. Hi, Olivia. I love those glasses, obviously.
Hi, good to see you again.
See you.
So you're asking the known unknown, the things that we think we
Correct.
don't, okay. I think there's always this general question of everything is impossible until it's possible, until someone does it, right? And earlier, I don't know if you were asking Tino in, facetiously or kind of like hilarious, in your, oh, we have to ship everything, right? But what if we don't, right? So at what point do you reckon, how do you know when it's really something that's ultimately doable versus no one's, and even now people talk about, sorry, I didn't finish that thought, but even now some people say, oh, it's impossible from physics standpoint. But even physics, the goalposts gets moved a little bit here and there, right? Newtonian physics at one point was the end all be all until Einstein came through, and there was a bit of that. So yeah, I mean,
I hope you see the big smile on my face and my heart challenge, because the way she's asked the question, everybody, and her interpretation of at least me asking you to ask that kind of question is just amazing. The known unknowns. How do you know if something's going to work until you try it? Those are the wonderful questions that I love to wrestle with. There's a line, and Phil certainly took quite a bit of them. When I spoke at Columbia a couple of years ago, I asked their CEO organization, Columbia Entrepreneur Organization, CEO they call it, of course it works, whether or not they wanted to be coddled like most startups. They kind of resented the question because they thought maybe I was inferring that these Columbia grad students were being coddled, and I actually was pretty direct about it. I said, you are. And coddling doesn't force you to ask the question that Andrea just asked. Should I be doing something like this? How I determine, making that first step. And that implies that you're actually asking yourself the most important question, which is the time that it will take to do what you want to do. And whether or not that time is valuable enough because you've already pre-thought out possibilities of what the answer is to that question. I didn't know Einstein was going to be invoked so early in my day, but I appreciate his name being, thrown into the foray. I have a science literacy foundation, and I had a meeting with my people yesterday, my staff, and I'm trying to get people to care about science. And somebody asked, but what if they don't care? And you want them to care. I said, that's a problem. Because if you don't start with people who even care, well, then it doesn't even matter. And I don't know. So your question is very prophetic to me, because I don't know who I'm actually reaching and if I'm reaching all the right people the right way. Hey, at some point in your life, you gain an aptitude and a desire that you can actually do your passion, which is a social cause. Passion has no place. Passion has no place in business. None. So no matter what you've been told about follow your passions, that's obscene. It doesn't help you balance your checkbook. It doesn't help you be a better speaker. Grit does. Determination does. And the desire to make money does. Right? Should really be about that. So Andrew, that's a great question. I think everybody should ponder that as the first question you ask about anything you do. What is it possible? And if it is remotely possible and you think it's something you want to do, then you try and do it. But I hate it when I run into wantrepreneurs. Have you heard that term before? Wantrepreneurs? Well, I add a little bit to that, Andrea and Joseph. I add on to it, wantrepreneurs living on hopium. It's like a drug, hope. And that's that. I don't want to ever use tentative words. If there's one thing I could share with you that I've learned from listening to thousands of presentations, I hear when people say words like maybe, if, we'll see, who knows, we're going to try. And I always tell entrepreneurs, anyone for that matter, but particularly startup founders, try never to ever use those if tentative words. Only use positive words. This is what we're doing. This is how we're going to do it. This is the way it's going to happen. And it really does change your life. So
Yoda said in The Empire Strikes Back, there is no try.
I like that.
No, that was Yoda.
That was Yoda.
Don't try to. There is no try.
There is no try. Mark Hamill, when he was playing Luke Skywalker, said, I'll try. And he goes, there is no try.
Yep.
Nelson, I didn't hold back from you because I built the first and largest tech agency in the world for and I never called it PR because most people have no idea what PR is.
So can I tell you what I do?
I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
So I'm really interested in telling us what you do without using the word PR.
Okay, so I get earned media exposure for public and private companies. And that means I get clients on the radio, on TV, into newspapers, magazines, industry publications. I get the brand awareness and publicity.
So let me add something to that. Obviously, you're a young man,
Not that young, but okay.
So here's what I learned, everybody, about the quote PR business. So when I went into the PR business and I spent a lot of time with tech journalists all over the world, I realized I had to ask, just like I asked before, what business was I in? And it seemed pretty easy because the old line PR business was, I got a name. This is a person I believe might be interested in listening and talking to you. And more importantly, writing something, right? Because in the end, it's the output, right? Something is written or said or produced, however you want to describe the media as. So I said, well, that means I'm bringing people together. So I'm in the bringing together people business, right? I bring my client together with somebody who can write or influence what their product's all about. And it wasn't enough. So one day, John Markoff, he was one of the great technology editors of the New York Times, and I went with him to meet with a client, and I said at the end of the meeting to this incredibly powerful, at the time, New York Times tech journalist, did you understand what my client said? I thought he was going to burst the vein. Like, how dare I ask this talented, well-known tech journalist, did he understand something? And he listened and he listened as I asked him further, what did you learn? What did you hear? And he looked at me and said, you're right, Brian. I didn't understand. I'm working too hard. I'm working too fast. Like, I'm underpaid. I don't have enough staff. I just got to get a story written. He said, but I would love to understand. So I went into the understanding business, and that changed my life. Creating understanding in a complex world, Nelson, is what I learned.
Right.
And it's the understanding part that's hard, because that puts more pressure on you, and it puts more demands on the person who's listening, and the people working for you too. So if you're in the understanding business, that's a better business than being in the reaching out and connecting people business. Just a story, I'm just ripping off of what each of you are doing, and I still love looking at all those books behind you, Yvonne. And I keep thinking about how happy I am that I'm not in Cleveland, Tino. Cleveland actually isn't so bad. It's not so bad. So, Jack, I haven't missed you. What are you up to, Jack?
Okay, thanks for asking the question. So you guys were talking about science. Bonnie actually just texted that she loves science. Hello, Bonnie, to you as well. We briefly met. What we are doing is we basically using concrete in buildings as a Swiss knife that can deliver luxury comfort, safety, resilience. It includes energy storage in a heating and cooling mode, which are typically add-on systems to the building. So we're addressing a problem that everybody is talking, but there is not much traction. It's how to get to zero energy buildings. And the main issue is cost. That kind of pops up as number one.
Slow down for a second, because I think everybody's curious. You said it's a building material and it's concrete?
A regular concrete, yeah.
So I've invested in concrete. I won't tell you which. Concrete is the world, right? I mean, without concrete, we couldn't have built the world. We really needed concrete. It's a fascinating, question. How important is concrete, to humankind? And you find out it's critical. So you have a special kind of concrete, or it's how you're using existing concrete?
No. Let me give you a little bit of a background so you'll understand that. You see, I used to have my own.
Quickly, please. Yes.
yeah, MEP company, and been doing all kind of buildings, millions of square feet. I realized as engineers, the tools that we have are basically supporting manufactured solutions. There is nothing in the market that supports precision engineered solutions. So with that, I dove into
Those are
it.
always those throwaway statements. You know, there's nothing in the market that supports these people. Okay, that's too complicated for me to understand.
So we basically use simple materials linked together with conventional systems that produce results that exceed any other high performance.
Make it easy for everybody on this call to understand what you're doing. Right now, it's very vague.
So it's basically a solution how to do more with less and get better outcomes.
Yeah, you need some help in actually, you know, that I think where did he go for the Nelson, and Joseph, form a team here and help him better explain himself, because I've been doing this obviously a long time.
I told him that.
I can't tell what you do. I'm sorry, and that's I'd rather, you know, there's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in startup. Simple, clear language.
Yes.
And I'm lost with what you do. I'm sure it's important, by the way. I don't want to demean it in any way, nor the work that you put into it. But, you know, language and communications stands side by side with you. It doesn't get caught in your wake, right? It's not behind you. So, you know, make sure that what you're saying is well tested and is clear and simple. And then when you think it's clear and simple, make it even clearer and simpler. And then when you make it even clearer and simpler, make it even clearer and simpler, because that's what you do. So I'm going to come back to you while you're thinking about that. I'm going to have
thank you.
And
Thank you for the feedback.
In less than 7 words.
Okay.
Okay. Who haven't I spoken to yet? Did I miss anybody?
Hi there. My name is Sophia, and I'm sorry I'm not on video. I'm just multitasking this morning, as you know, many entrepreneurs can understand.
Yes.
My name is Sophia. I'm the founder and CEO of Casa J Tequila, which is a luxury artisanal sipping tequila crafted for women seeking a connected experience in their drinking occasions. And this was inspired by the reconnection to my Mexican cultural heritage through the reconnection to my father, who is from the region of Jalisco.
So I'm a big tequila drinker. I won't say I drink to excess, but tequila is my favorite.
And you share that with Bonnie, who we connected about. So that's really fun. That's really, really great to hear.
Well,
and I have a very specific question.
Yes.
My question is, so I want to let you know, I've been working on this for 7 years, and in May of 2023, that was all research and development, by the way. And in May of 2023, I received investment from Diageo, one of the world's largest spirits conglomerates.
Very well.
Thank you so much. And they invested to get us production ready. And then they said, Sophia, we've invested in you, and we're going to invest another couple $100,000 once you get to New York City, your home market, for launch. But we want to see you fundraise for the production. Now, I'm currently raising $200,000, which, you know, for a startup is a relatively small amount, but I'm finding this difficulty or challenge sweet spot of pre-launch, pre-seed consumer. Do you have any suggestions in terms of, it's been challenging to raise?
Well, I'm sure that, I'm going to just sort of back up. Diageo, for everybody, is the biggest.
Yes.
So they gave you a stamp of approval. For some reason, they met you, they believed in you. They said you can execute and you could figure it out. And that's the context of them asking you to go out and do something like what they said, stage 2. It's up to you.
Exactly.
Now. Right. Which is very smart of them to do. You know, we'll give you the catalyst, we'll be there for you to get you going.
Exactly.
So I've invested in so many brand products like that over the years. And my friend started Arizona Iced Tea.
Terrific.
They're about an $8 billion company. It's a great story you should all listen to. It's sugar water, right? Let's be clear. It's sugar water. So, and what I'm going to tell you is nothing that you haven't seen yet. But back then, the sugar water that they said had to compete against Snapple. And Snapple came in this ugly little bottle, and they created a beautiful, gorgeous Arizona iced tea can. Then the founder of the company, a dear friend, said, I want my can to sell itself on the shelf. Okay, doesn't everybody? So we put on the can 75 cents. The owner of the stores hated it because they couldn't change the price. It was right there emblazoned all over the can, 75 cents. And everybody knew that that was a good price. And then they said, let's make it even better. Let's make it a giant can. And so right there was their success. Obviously, distribution plays an important role there, but the product sold itself. It tasted just like any other iced tea, except it was pretty and the brand gave a value of Arizona and pretty pictures, but they never had an advertising budget. They never had a marketing budget because they want their product that would sell itself off the shelf, Sophia.
It's funny story because it's an alignment. It's an aligned story that you tell with my brand, because that is exactly what I did. I went to every single bar, as I usually do, and sit at the bar, talk to mixologists. And I visually took a overview of, okay, how can a bottle look different to pique a consumer's interest? So that's exactly what I did. And then I measured every single bottle. And my bottle is about 1.25 inches higher than the other luxury brand bottles. So this is about a 14-inch bottle. This doesn't have the label right here, and I'm not sure if you could tell how tall it is, but my head for reference, it's tall.
I was walking in Sag Harbor, and I couldn't help but notice what appeared to be another tequila brand in a big bulbous bottom piece with a small top, but it was gorgeous, And I said, I want that on my shelf. I want that
exactly.
as a part, on my bar. I hadn't even tasted the product, but I was willing to take a chance because it said hello to me. I love things that say hello to you.
Exactly.
Right.
So, pre-launch, pre-seed, having really great conversations with angels, with VC firms. But for most VC firms, I'm too early. They say, come to me when the product is launched. So it's chicken before the egg.
No, that's not what they mean. They're telling you too early is just another way of saying I'm not interested. So,
well, they've all actually said we are extremely interested, but we want to see your product on the market, and we want to see. These are not cold outreaches either. These are warm introductions.
I invested in VinePair, which you probably know in the marketplace is one of the leading magazines. So I get a chance to talk to a lot of Sophias. I love that name. So, do you sing?
I do not.
I kind of use words like singing because I think products like tequila have to sing to you. There's got to be a feeling, obviously, that we're talking about in the brand that makes it come off the shelf as I'm walking down the street. As I just told you that story, this bottle, it sung to me. It said hello to me. I didn't have to think about it. I wanted that bottle. And yeah, I guess I'd like the tequila that was in it. They were all out, by the way. They had sold out. It was a phenomenon to them. So they, keep that bottle in the window because it brings people in asking for it. And they sell them something else. But I'm only sharing with you what I know. When a VC or anybody says you're too early, you're not talking to the right people then, right? That's number one. Because if you need money and you're talking to people telling you that too early, you're talking to the wrong person, right? Real angel investors like me want to be the first check in.
Yep.
Because of who you are and because of what you've accomplished to date, to that moment in time. And going back to what I said to all of you, time is everything. Don't waste your time with people who say you're too late or too early or anything like that. Because that means no. You get up, you leave, I'll see you later, bye. There's so much money out there, Sophia. There's so much smart money who cares about certain segments of markets. Those are the people you have to try and find, certainly. But don't let people waste your time. Now, the brand business is driven to a great extent, obviously, by personality. Like Aviator and all the Hollywood types. So everybody's always out trying to get Gwyneth or somebody to say something good about a wellness product or a new Dr. Daniel Sanders, supplement. Well, what did Gwyneth say? Right? And we're driven in the influencer market. Where'd our influencer go? Was that Annie? We need an influencer. I'm not going to be successful, and we're going to put all of our pressure on this influencer. If I don't get that influencer, business is gone. Well, if you've got a great product and you've got a great branding and you got great distribution in your business, you'll succeed. Doesn't that sound simple? But I know a lot more about the business, and it would give away too many issues about so many people that I know. But you sound like you're on your way. You sound like you just have to find the right person to believe in you, right? And give you that initial funding. How much are you looking for?
200,000.
That's pennies.
Exactly. Exactly.
That causes me to ask the question, why so little? And what did you say Diageo gave you?
$300,000 to be production ready. And I'm currently raising 400,000, where Diageo's committed 200,000 that they will offer once the product is officially in the States. So it's up to me to raise.
Slow down. I'm getting confused, everybody. So they gave you 300,000 to get started, to get product ready. I guess what that means is you have a home family plantation somewhere, growing agave, and everybody there is already in the business, or is this a sideline business to a business they're already?
It's a vendor. My tequila producers, they are a vendor of mine.
Got it. That's what I thought. Okay. So, so now you're raising more money. Is it a seed round? I like things that have boxes around,
Sure. To be clear, that $300,000 is through. That was all allocated for the production to be, for the pre-production to be production ready. So that 300,000 is gone. Now I'm raising a new $200,000 that is available, and Diageo is remitting an additional 200,000.
What I enjoy doing is riffing on the stories that everybody shares and adding it to the conversation for everybody to learn from. So Diageo came to you, said $300,000. What was the valuation for the $300,000? What did they buy of your company?
It's on a safe 85% discount, no valuation, no cap.
That's pretty horrible. That's pretty horrible. But Diageo can twist your arm to do that. I get it.
On the safe? Horrible.
85% discount?
Yeah, no valuation, no cap. But again, that's from Diageo. So
no, I know the way they work. Right. Okay, so no valuation, but they have an 85% discount to whatever your next raise valuation will be. And now you've waited to run out of money. Not that I know more. You probably didn't because you are aggressive. But you're out of money and you're trying to raise more money. It's always
exactly.
It's always hard to deal from a position of weakness. How much money do you have? Nothing. Oh, okay. So we're really starting from scratch, though you're production ready. Not sure exactly what that means, but I can imagine. You don't have to tell us. And now you only want to raise, you said to everybody on this call, $200,000. But then you confused me by saying, but you really have a desire to raise $500,000 or $400,000, did you say?
So it's a $400,000 raise where $200,000 is already committed.
By who?
Diageo.
So they came back in.
Yes.
At what? Now what are the terms?
On a same exact safe.
So they came back in. So they've now put in more money on top of the original money to get you production ready.
No. Sophia, as the founder, they said, Sophia, we want to see your grit. Go out and raise $200,000 for the production. Get your product to New York City, your home market. Right when that product lands in New York City, we are wiring you $200,000 to support your launch.
Got it.
It's a test and a passage. I need to go through that door myself in order to get that pocket of gold.
I love the way you speak with determination and clarity. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love it. Where can I find your product? Is it available anywhere in any one store? Is it online?
That's a no, because I'm currently raising to produce and import to the New York City market where I'm born and raised, Manhattan.
So there's nothing anybody can taste. So when you do go out and you show off that you're going to do this, there's nothing. we're so used to getting drunk when we hear presentations from vendors who, you know, sell products like that and say, taste my product. We say, well, taste it again, please. We'll taste it again.
Exactly. I do have product for tastings, and, you know, for investors who are interested, I'm constantly packing up small samples, but, you know, I only have a few liters, and then I have to ask the distillery, hey, can you send me some more samples on an ongoing rolling basis? I'm sorry?
Would you say the name of the product is?
It's Casa J Tequila. My name is Sofia Paloma Juarez, and Juarez and Jalisco region and heritage.
Casa J. So if I was ordering it, I'd say like I have the Casa J.
Exactly. Casa J Tequila.
Got it. Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you
Very
so
nice.
much.
So, you know, it hurts me because I'd love to be able to give you some more time to give you some insights. And if you could, you know, reach out to me, Bonnie has my email, and ask any questions. I'm more than happy to offer you whatever insights I can. I love to talk to entrepreneurs like you all who take the first proactive step to wanting to listen. And you seem to be an excellent listener. You seem to be an excellent doer. And your drive, and you haven't used any tentative words. You're going to make it happen. You're going to figure it out. And in the end, that's really what it's all about. I want somebody to give me money because I want them to believe I will figure this out. I will find a way, period. And it's not easy to calculate that, so you don't have to in my world. You just start by believing in the person. So let me give you a piece of advice. When you start giving your presentation, and Bonnie's used to hearing this, having run so many angel groups and been part of this world of finance for so long for startups, I know as a behavioralist what the person is thinking when you're talking to them. So what are they thinking? First thing they're thinking is, do I believe this person? Do I believe them, right? You can tell me anything you want, but if I don't believe you, it's just a presentation. I'm not listening. So I always ask founders to start with, instead of saying, I'm, you know, Sofia Paloma, and I do this, I have a product. No, I always say, talk to the heart first. I'm Sofia Paloma, and I believe that the tequila marketplace requires a new brand that provides this kind of approach, you know, to selling the product that hasn't been used before. I believe that. And I believe that for the following reasons. When you talk to somebody even in life, if somebody comes up to you at all and ever says to you, here's what I believe, it's like they're sharing something personal. You know, you're starting with the heart first. Talk to the heart first. Then, remember, the vision is the heart, the mission is the brain. Then you can get into the brain. So how am I going to do this? Because the second question that the VC or angel investor wants to know is, how are you going to execute?
Right.
I don't even care about the size of the market. I know it's huge. I know it's this. I know it's that. Just tell me, how are you going to make it happen? What are the steps you're going to take? Don't be verbose either. You know, I'm going to find this type of distributor. I'm going to find this type of distribution, and play the professor. Because the third part, most of the people you talk to don't really understand what you're doing. So you have to step back and say, let me tell you what you need to know to understand what I'm doing. Let me give you context. It's like what I said a moment ago. Let me help you understand what I'm doing. And all of a sudden, you're talking to somebody who believes you, gets a better sense of clarity about how you're going to execute. And you also want to help them understand how you're going to succeed and make them what? Money. I mean, the word exit is always the critical word in our business.
Yeah.
So if you ask me what business I'm in, what would be the answer? Just like Peter Drucker would ask, what business am I in? Does anybody know the answer?
I do, but that's unfair.
Right. What business, when you're talking, Sophia, to, and I'm talking to all
and
of
I
you,
put it in the newsletter all the time. Investors are in the exit business.
we're in the exit business. We're not going to succeed unless you exit. So how does this get to that scenario? We see this as an opportunity. No, I don't know, maybe you have illusions of grandeur. You're going to be $1 billion business. The chances of that happening are extremely slim. What most investors like to hear is, I like early exits. I plan on growing the company to 50 million and getting 7, 8 to 10 times, earnings or sales. I said exit in 3 years from now. Do you know how quickly angel investors will want to invest in you?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody talks to them with the rationale that they're thinking. Because frankly, no one makes money. The angel investors, and I got the research, I've done it. No one wants to exit from the beginning of a conversation. And I've debated this issue on stage a lot. If you're going to look, if you want to catch a mouse, you got to look like a piece of cheese. So the one thing I look for is, how am I going to exit? When is that? Give me an idea. Paint the picture for me. So good luck to you. And if I could help, let me know.
Excellent. I'll be in touch through Bonnie. Thank you so much, Brian.
Okay.
Well, I love your style.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It even comes across in the 2-dimension.
Oh, good. Thanks for today.
You'll win. You'll figure it out.
Thank you.
Did I miss anybody? Patrick, did I talk to you? Tony, and Lou, I got right. Lou, got you all. All right.
Hey.
So any other questions? Did I miss anybody?
No, Joe has his hand up.
Joe, there you are. That's called a hand up. I always tell entrepreneurs, when you put your hand up, half-hearted. There you go. That's a good entrepreneur. Go ahead.
Thanks, Brian. You made some important comments early on about the failure rates of angel investors and all that sort of stuff. And the same can be applied for the venture capital industry itself. The industry is not a profession. There's no training required. There's a lot of people jumping off into it, either as an angel or a VC in their first fund, sort of learning on the job, if you will. But unfortunately, we're the investors like Sophia have to, that's the majority of people they have exposure to raise money from, folks that are, for lack of a better label, faking it till they make it as an investor, either angel or VC.
You sound so
in that context, I've got a couple questions for you. And one is a little bit nerdishly technical, but it's an important example of what I'm talking about. There are some overlooked tax incentives in investing in startups that de-risk early stage investing, specifically QSBS under Section 1244. This long held tax incentive, it's been around since 58.
1202.
But very few people know about it or even utilize it. Either investors and certainly entrepreneurs don't know it exists, but investors just overlook it. So my questions are twofold. One is, A, just very tactically, how much have you optimized on QSBS, either 1244, the original one, or 1202, the one that more people know about? And second, if you could, given your experience and time, how would you fix the very funding mechanism? How would you professionalize how we fund startups? How would you make it a profession versus this ad hoc experiment that we continually conduct?
So your question is a profoundly important, or your questions, a bunch of them in there, or the statements or the rhetoric. But I'd love to be sitting with Sophia's tequila answering your question with you.
Very soon.
I want you to each Google a story that ran. It was an institutional investor, which is one of the premier publications in the investing world. And they did a story a number of years ago, not too long ago. The COVID time tends to slip faster than I'd like it to. And it was a research study done by Harvard and Yale. Harvard and Yale collected together and said, we want to find out the answer to one singular question. Does skill have anything to do with venture capital success, Joe? I'm not sure if you're familiar with the study, but it was a simple question. Does skill have anything to do with venture capital success? Now, every time I bring this up, people look at me and go, of course it does. Absolutely. But if you look at the research that they came out with, the answer came back with 0. That skill has nothing to do with venture capital success. Oh, everybody smiles and laughs and says, oh, come on. What's the nuance there? Well, yeah, I mean, in the latter stages, when companies are de-risked and we hear about Andreessen and everybody getting in at the, C, D, and E, and F rounds. Yeah, they make a lot of money because they designed the system for them at the latter stages to make a lot of money. But in the end, the research proved one thing. Luck. Luck and reputation. That's it, but not skill. Now, I, as a science journalist, will tell you, and as somebody who's run angel groups and built them, that I, as a journalist, do have a skill. And we all know that people, when they play Texas Hold'em, in Vegas, somehow, a lot of the same people get to that last table. How is that possible? Right? They all see the same cards, but somehow those people get to that last table most of the time. Well, it turns out that journalists are really good at spotting bullshit fast, because that's what good journalists do. They have an antenna that goes up, the BS antenna, right? And on top of that, they're really good at asking probing questions, and they're not afraid to. They're not afraid to directly ask the questions that need to be asked. So when you do look at the venture capital community in New York or worldwide, anywhere, you'll find that most, if not the majority, of the people who actually do well in it are ex-journalists. They come out of the media world, and they have those two, attributes too, that allow them to see into things differently. Now, the issue that you brought up about QSBS is a bigger issue, but it's a larger issue because each and every one of you on this call should know what goes into a term sheet when you're going to raise money. So I like to say, I can't watch you run your business when you ask for money, Sally, Ian, Joseph. I can't ask to go work with you. That would be great. Then I'd be able to see what you're like when you're actually operating your business. I could see how many times you yell at your staff or don't, or how you incentivize them. But what I can do, I could watch you raise money. And if you're not raising money with incredible intelligence, that gives me the first indicator that you don't have the ability to run your business. Because that is your business. You're in the business of raising money, and you will be for a long period of time. And if you haven't taken the time to study a term sheet and understand the implications of what the deal terms may be, and I apologize with Diageo, they can call the shots because they can get you going, and I get that. But I always like to ask, even among venture capitalists, Joe, do you know what QSBS is? And some of you are sitting there going, what is QSBS? QSBS is a tax incentive that simply says that if you invest at a certain point in time in a startup company that is a C Corp, not a safe note corp, right? It's got to be a C Corp, which means it's equity. And equity is a good thing, not a bad thing, an equity term sheet. Safe notes came out of Y Combinator as a convenient method to invest in a company. I believe in boards. I believe in a good board. I believe every company should have a governance. I think it's too easy as a founder to get lost. So the profound nature of QSBS brings up issues as to what type of product you're using as your term sheet. And I believe in equity term sheets. You're selling this piece of your company. Thank you. This is how much you're getting. This is how much I have. And these are the terms by which we're actually doing that investment. But QSBS allows you at the exit to keep $10 million of that money tax-free. Tax-free. $10 million tax-free.
The original one is 1244. Are you familiar with 1244, Brian? The original, where the definition came from?
Yes, of course. Now,
that's the one that's the most relevant for most investors and most entrepreneurs.
So it's something you should all look up because it's a conversation you can have with your accountant. And if your accountant doesn't know what it is, you're working, or if your lawyer, Silicon Valley, I always love the fact that the first thing they do is they ask you, who's the lawyer you're working with? And if you're working with your cousin, Vinny, they know immediately to walk away. Your lawyer should be able to guide you through a coordinated relationship with your accountant as to what QSBS is and why 1244 and 1202 are so important. Is there a way to fix any of this? Yeah. If everybody was more professional, if everybody took this seriously, but people don't. And that's why all of you will succeed, because you don't have to be that good at what you do. You just have to suck less than everybody else. So I just love professionalism. Thinking it through, making a difference in how you come to a conclusion. I taught a physics class in college, and I told my students that if they got the answer wrong on all 10 questions, but they showed their work, and how they got there, I'd still give them I'd still give them an A. Because at least they had a process in mind that rationalized some logic that reached their conclusion. But Joe, the problem is it's not a professional, as you said, environment. There are more VCs in Silicon Valley than there are startups. Because
is that true?
Because yeah, of course there is. Everybody's got money. There's more. If you added in, Bonnie, all the family offices, all the super angels, all the VCs, you took them all together. There's more people acting the role as somebody who can do what it is. Oh, I'm a smart VC. And I don't want to talk down to my colleagues. I love my colleagues, but they know the differences of funding from a fund. They know that when you run a fund, this is the other problem, Joe. You have to invest. That's the problem with the fund. I never invest in funds because a fund is a slippery slope. A fund manager, who told me they were doing wealth management? Somebody said that. You know, they have, if they don't invest, their customer, their LP comes to them and says, "You didn't find anything? What's the matter with you?" And so instead of saying, "No, I didn't find anything," you know, they end up just investing in things that aren't as perfect as they should be because they don't want to have to deal with it. But what works in their favor is that it takes so frigging long for an exit anyway that most of the LPs forget they even invested. And they're already raising the second fund before the first fund runs out. So you don't even have a chance to know whether or not the first fund succeeds. So it is a self-fulfilling lunacy. But there's no easy fix other than everybody has to be more professional. If angel investors were less binary about, oh, I don't care what the valuation is. I don't care what the terms are. I just want to put my money in. Because if you succeed, I'll make some money. But how many times, 70% of founders who are venture capital backed, when they exit, don't make any money. Let me repeat that. 70% of venture capital backed founders don't make any money when they exit. How's that possible? Because they didn't concentrate on the terms. They didn't understand the terms. So if you're going to be a success in this business as a founder, know your terms, study your terms. Be prepared that if somebody wants to get into the wicket, the weeds of putting a term sheet in front of you, that you don't need a lawyer. I mean, you will, but you will know the terms as well as a lawyer. And it's not that hard. It's pretty easy to learn this stuff. But at the same time, if you're talking to somebody like me and I ask you basic questions about term sheets and you know the answer, I just walk away. Because it's the first thing I look for to find out if you actually can build a business, how well you could raise money. So, great question, Joe. Fabulous question. It is 4 minutes, to 11. I know that we only have till 11. So, any last question?
Any last questions or sage
Yeah.
word? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, just super quickly, backtracking a little bit. Can you talk a little bit more about luck?
Great question. So I believe in meeting luck halfway. That's where I start when I used to give presentations on creating luck. And I'm a nut. I went everywhere to find companies to invest in. I didn't wait for them to come to me. When somebody says, "How do I find you?" Well, angel investors should be easy to find because they need you more than you need them, right? They need you more than you need them because they can't be in the business unless they find you, right? So I'm not saying I don't on purpose want to make myself hard to find because my name is out there and anybody can know how to reach me. But luck is created by creating the opportunities that create luck, more luck. And luck actually has weight to it. I went to every competition, every place there could be a founder. Just if I heard something or met somebody like Sophia, right? All of a sudden I get excited. I don't know if I'll invest yet. I don't know if it's the right thing for me, but I get scared when I meet somebody like Sophia because I don't want to say the wrong thing. You know, I don't want to give her the wrong input.
I appreciate that, Brian.
Well, it's so easy. And the answer to the question I'm actually asking, what does that mean, wrong input? I think there's a range of right input. So there's right-er input, there's wrong input to me, but there's definitely different various shades of right-er input. And to get to the rightest input, and that's always dependency on time and situation analysis. I invest in founders. The ideas are a dime a dozen. I invested in the worst possible ideas with brilliant execution, and I've made the most money. Doesn't that sound weird? Right? I'll take a bad idea executed brilliantly any day over a brilliant idea executed poorly. Now it makes more sense when you sort of put those two together. So on that note, I'm going to see an old friend of mine that I went to high school with at Stuyvesant High School here in New York City. I haven't seen him in a long time, and I'm going to look forward to talking about those days back. In the 60s in New York, Kent State, when those kids were killed by bringing the National Guard. And of course, what's going on the university campuses now, you know, brings that up and makes it a little bit more real, Bonnie. I hope this has been useful, helpful. I like to riff on each and everything that each of you are doing. Andrea, thank you for your Einstein, question. I didn't know theory of relativity was going to be on my mind this morning. All of you really were really wonderful to listen to and to learn from as well. So thanks again, Bonnie.
Thank you, Brian. That was fantastic. Sorry I'm technologically challenged today, but I'm here. I wouldn't miss it.
No, you're very kind, Bonnie. Bonnie, I should tell you,